Okay, so we're going to sit today for 30 minutes. And we're going to do the complete path today. We'll start at the end and then go back to the beginning. So the end is to just accept everything as it is. So just before we do follow any other instructions, we take a moment to accept how we arrive today, what our environment is like in all the senses, sound, the light, the temperature, the feel of our seat. Just let it be the way it is. Make any final adjustments and then let it be the way it is. And then we accept our body as it is today. Notice what you might be struggling against, fighting against in your body, and let go as much as you can, and then let go of letting go, and let your body be the way it is. Accepting our emotional tone of our body and mind right now. So throughout our face, our throat, our heart, our gut, just noticing any emotional quality. We don't need to know its name. We can just tell, oh, yeah, I have a feeling of some sort, and we just allow that to be here. That's what we're bringing to meditation today. It is the perfect emotion to have for today. It's okay if you don't like something. Just acknowledge that you don't like it and allow it to be, and allow your not liking to be there. If you're noticing a lot of not liking, if you're noticing a lot of resistance, you can accept it, but you might want to also notice something you like or something that's enjoyable in your environment or body or feelings. Because unless you're fairly advanced, if there's a lot of resistance going on, it's pretty hard to stay unattached with respect to that resistance. And then we accept our mind. What do we bring to this meditation in our mind? We have a mind that talks to us. Is it loud? Is it quiet? Where is it? Is it jumping all over the place? Is it changing subjects? Is it focused? We have a picturing mind, an imagining mind, which has all our senses in a kind of imagined space. Are we remembering things? Are we planning things? Are we visualizing our location right now or our body? Again, is it jumping all over the place? Is it disconnected or abstract? Is it concrete and narrative? Is it bright and colorful or dim and vague? This is the mind we bring to this meditation. And so in this way, we've accepted everything in our experience right now, or at least broad categories of everything. Now we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to choose an object of focus, and we're going to concentrate on it. It will guide us in the breath, but you can choose another object of focus if it's something that is more peaceful to you. We want a peaceful, non-problematic object of focus. So the breath is good for a lot of people, but for some of us, it might have some anxiety in it, or we might have a health condition of some sort that makes the breath feel problematic. And there's a lot of locations to pick in the breath. Let's start with the nostrils. And we're just going to follow the breath coming in and out of the nostrils. And it's actually somewhat misleading. We're not following the breath, the air. We're following the sensations in the body. So we're following the sensations of coolness and heat, of pressure or vibration in the nostrils as we breathe in and breathe out. And you can use a label like feel here, but we're going to try and be as focused as we can. And we might label it like this: feel, 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 feel. And our goal here, and at this stage we do have little goals, is to focus on the breath as completely as possible. So we notice everything about the breath in that area, and we notice it continuously. This is not easy for the average person. So you should expect your mind to wander, and then you just be patient with yourself and just bring your attention back. And over time, you'll get better at this. The function of this, and the reason this is the beginning, is it gives our mind something to do. It gives our attention something to do that is not its normal addictive habit of thinking about the narration of its life, the problematic nature of living. Now, you'll notice that if you're focusing on the breath, your mind will start thinking about whether the meditation is going good or whether it feels good, or that your mind will continue trying to narrate. And your goal is you just keep coming back to the sensations. Until you are just continuously experiencing the detailed sensory experience of the breath. By doing this, you're breaking your addictions to your mind and feelings, to the mental story of the world. First, you won't feel it, but eventually you'll get a taste of real concentration where there's nothing you're experiencing but the breath, and there will be a sense of freedom because for the first time, maybe in a long time, you will be free of the mental trap that we live inside. And there's levels of concentration here. There's the amount of time you're not distracted. That's sort of the basic level. But then there's, maybe you're in the sort of vicinity of the nostrils, but you're not. And that's great. You're sort of staying with the body and barely getting distracted. That's really good. And then you start to be like only just the nostrils. Everything else starts to disappear, right? So even though at first you may have the nostrils in mind, you have a lot of other things in mind too. And you get closer and closer. You get more and more curious. The details of the breath get sharper and sharper until you're noticing every pixel of sensation. Until eventually your attention is perfectly still and perfectly encapsulated by just the object of focus. Now, this takes practice, weeks or months, but you will get benefits pretty quickly. Now, along this path, there are many obstacles that we encounter. Today, we're not going to work with all of them, but you may, for instance, get sleepy, and then there's certain techniques to work with sleepiness. Or you might have a lot of pain or discomfort in your body, and there's certain techniques to work with the pain or discomfort in the body. Or you might have an obsessive emotional content or obsessive thinking content. Or you might have a sense of lack of motivation, a kind of apathy. These are all obstacles that our mind wants us to maintain our addiction. So it's going to keep us off the track of just feeling the breath. For today, no, just if you can come back to the breath, come back to the breath. If you are getting overwhelmed by some other obstacle, you might need to attend to that obstacle as your object of focus. Really feel, see, or hear what's going on in your distraction. If the obstacle is an overwhelming emotion, you'll want to really couple that with a resource, that is, with bringing your attention back to something that feels good or gives you a sense of safety or peacefulness so that you do not get overwhelmed. And when you get some kind of release and some space so you can control your attention again, you want to bring it back to the object of focus, which I'm using the breath today. The final thing to note is that we aren't controlling our breath. If you're controlling your breath, then you are not accepting the breath as it is. So you want to just let the breath come in and out when it wants to. And reminder that we're focusing on the feeling sensations today, not the image sensation. So you might have a picture of your breath or a picture of your face or your nostrils or whatever part of the body you're focused on. And that's normal. But as we get more and more concentrated, we want to disentangle the different sensations. So we will get more and more clear experience of the feeling sensation, letting go of the image sensations. You could another day just focus on the image sensations. That would be fine too. Okay, so that's the beginning, using concentration and resource, some object focus that's peaceful, to break our addiction to mind. And the next step is vipassana, or mindfulness. And that is using our newfound ability to concentrate and accept things as they are, to see them as they are, as we just learned with our breath, to apply to everything in our experience. So we're going to start with just with feel because we're already on the breath. But now we're going to expand our experience to the whole body. You don't have to do this as quickly as we are today, but today we'll just expand to the whole body. So as you breathe in and breathe out, you're allowed to feel anything in your body, anywhere. So at first, this will mean your attention bouncing around between different parts of the body experience. But in essence, it's no different than what we were just doing. We've just chosen a larger object. And eventually you'll be able to experience the whole object, the whole body at once. If you're doing this on your own, or if you want to today, you could label it feel, as we were with the breath. Feel, feel. And again, we are not focusing on the image of the body, we're focusing on the feel of the body. And we are not controlling anything about the body. We're not controlling its breath or the blood that flows through it or the sensations that flow over it. Any tension that you're holding in your muscles that you notice, you can let go of it. The only thing we're doing is maintaining our upright posture. Now, within the body are also emotional feelings, and we'll just sort of mix those in now. Just noticing every sensation in the body. Some of those sensations will be just sensations of the world, and some of those sensations will be actually emotional in tone. But they are all made up of heat and coolness, pressure, vibration, expansion, contraction, shape, location. Now, emotion is much more challenging and much more likely to catch us up in story. And that's why we keep coming back to the basic sensation. Even though fear is very compelling as a story, if you pay attention to how it arises in the body, for example, you will notice that it's just vibration and heat and coolness and pressure, constriction. And so we just pay attention to those sensations and we let them come and go as they are without controlling them. Just giving attention to our body. Once again, when we work with one modality like this, it's no different than working with the breath. We will get more and more concentrated until all we are experiencing is the feeling of the body. And slowly we'll get more and more peaceful. So instead of the attention jumping around, we'll just experience the whole body all at once. And we'll get more and more detailed experience of all the pixels of the body sensation. And just allowing it to be as one thing so that the emotions and the feelings of coolness and the feelings of the seat beneath us all are part of one experience. Well, it's a great way to process emotion because now our emotion is in the context of feelings that are peaceful, that do not have emotional content. Whenever you notice you're being distracted, you just bring your attention back. So that's mindfulness of body and body feelings. And then we can turn our attention to mindfulness of sound. So we can listen to our environment. And so we're turning our attention away from the feeling sensations towards the auditory sensations. So anything we hear, we could hear our own breath. So that would be a different way of experiencing the breath. We also hear anything in our environment or my voice, the room tone, uh, the restful white noise in the ears. It's all there. And this requires us to shift our concentration. So again, you'll have to develop the skill to be able to just move your attention from one object to the next. But here we move it to the auditory world. And if you need to practice at first with just focusing in on one thing, you can focus in on the sound of my voice and remind yourself that we are not interested in the narration or story. We're interested in the sensory quality. So my voice has a pitch, it has a loudness or a softness. There's a timbre to the quality of my voice. There's a rhythm to it. It starts and it stops. It also has a location. So there's all these basic sensory details you can attend to without getting too involved in the words I'm saying. Don't worry, your mind will understand the words, but you don't need to attend to the meanings of the words. We are living below the level of story and attending to the actual experience we're having right now, which is an experience of sound. And after you've worked with my voice for a little bit, you can open your attention to include the whole environment. Okay. Just include now, there's another realm of auditory experience, and that is your mind. So you just might not have noticed it yet, but probably you're thinking about your meditation or thinking other things or talking to yourself about what's going on right now. And that is part of the soundscape of your experience. So we just include that too. So now your attention is allowed to wander anywhere into the world of sound, outside or inside the mind. The talking mind is often, near the middle of between the ears, or maybe a little further forward or a little lower than that. That's often where we can direct our attention to hear the mind. As always, we'll get distracted by other things. And at a basic level, we'll get distracted by other senses, seeing or feeling senses. And we just bring our attention back to sound. We might also get lost inside of the sound sense, that is no longer aware of what we're hearing because we're caught in the story of the sound. And so we have to remind ourselves to stay awake. Now we're going to finish this part of it with the visual sense. And we'll just do the mind and world at the same time. Since we're going to keep our eyes closed, there's a visual experience of the back of our eyelids. And with the visual sense, we just notice color and light and shape, these basic things. And then there's also your imagination. So you may be seeing, you may be daydreaming, you may be remembering, you may be visualizing your own body or where you are, all these things. And so we now turn our attention to this space behind the eyes and just notice the color and light and dark, and don't get caught up in the story. It doesn't matter if you're seeing a dinosaur, just notice that it's green or whatever. Let it come and go. Let it move how it wants to move until it disappears. We're not controlling anything, but we're also not getting involved in the story of anything. You can use a label here like see, 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 see. Now, each of these modalities are worth exploring on their own, so you develop expertise in noticing without getting caught. But to finalize the mindfulness step, we learn open awareness, which means we allow our attention to wander anywhere within the sensory space. And you can use a set of labels here to help you. Just use see, hear, and feel. And so we just notice what our attention is on right now. See. And then we wait and just see what happens next. And as it moves around, we can label every 3 to 5 seconds. Not obsessively, just reminding ourselves what we're doing. Here, here, see. So we've actually come quite a ways. Now we are no longer restricting our attention to help us break our addiction to mind. Now we are allowing our attention go anywhere and to still never get caught, meaning this is a much harder challenge for the mind addiction, because now your mind gets to choose where it takes your attention, and we'll try and take your attention to the most compelling parts of your experience. And you just need to remind yourself that whatever you are bringing your attention lands on is just a feel, a see, or a hear. It's just light and dark, loudness and softness, pressure or no pressure, heat or cold, and so on. And you stay awake. Do not get caught in the story. Where is your attention? Is it caught in the mind? Okay, well, notice the mind is just sound, talking, or pictures. See, just wake up. Mind is very compelling. It will tell you something's bad or good, something is going on that needs your attention. And it's so compelling, you'll forget that the whole point is to just hear the mind without getting caught. Now, if you just stay with this part of the practice, the sort of end state of this is your attention starts to slow down because the point of attention moving is to show you exciting things. But if you do not get excited about everything, do not get reactive, the attention will start to realize it's no longer useful and it will start to slow down. And it will also tend to widen until we can have what's called a complete experience of the present moment, which means we just experience everything in the see, hear, feel all at once. And the attention is so wide that we are in awareness. Now, we will take some more steps here, which will encourage this, but it can just happen here with open awareness if you are very diligent in the practice. So the next step is to turn our attention to something a little more amorphous. This is kind of an in-between step. It's not often taught, but I found it very helpful. You're going to pay attention to attention itself. So as your attention moves through the space of see, hear, and feel, it has different qualities. Attention can be moving fast or slow, bouncing back and forth. It can be moving repetitively or randomly. It can be narrow or wide, as we already mentioned. So you could be very hyper focused on little things, or it could be more wide and diffuse. It could be vague or very clear. And it might have some quality or filter over it. Like it could be as if you had a red filter on it or an emotional filter. And so we just start paying attention to the attention itself. This is not technically different than what we were doing before. We're just now, all of these things that we're going to attend to now are sort of still in the mindfulness space, but they're much more subtle and they're bringing us closer to our, to the source of our experience. So it's as if you were looking through a window out at the universe and you were just looking at all the things, the trees, the birds, everything. And then you shift your attention to the window itself. So everything exciting is on the other side of the window. So it is very compelling for the mind to go and out and look at what's happening on the other side of the window. That is the actual feelings, the actual sounds, the actual thoughts, the actual emotions. So this is a deeper level of equanimity or non-attachment to the world that we're practicing here. By only attending to the attention itself, we are letting go of the content of attention. Now, this is somewhat paradoxical because we're making attention the object of attention. Well, that's okay. That paradox is going to be useful. So we keep refining our the object of our attention. So our object of attention was started as when we sat down, gross things in the world, big things, big named things. Slowly we got it down into more and more detailed pixels of different types of sensation, cold, hot, light, dark. Now it is even more ephemeral, the elements of attention, the shape of attention, the tone of attention, the movement of attention. But attention is an empty thing, right? It's not actually a thing in the world. And inevitably, as this starts to happen, your attention will get wider and wider and wider. And the final stage is just to be aware of your awareness itself. So when attention has no boundaries, it's just called awareness. It's just pure awareness. And rather than attending to anything inside of awareness, you just attend to awareness itself. Being awake to the fact that you're aware. Now, at this point, there's other practices that can sort of refine or deepen this move. So we can do purely nothing, really making sure we do no actions. Because if we do anything, then what we're doing is regenerating a self that is made up of feel, hear, and see. And so we do nothing, we allow ourselves to just be our awareness. You can do a self inquiry practice where you just ask, who am I in this experience? Again, you just need to ask that question seriously once and then come back to awareness. If here I am sitting in awareness, awake to awareness, and I've let go of everything that I see, hear, and feel, who am I? What am I? If you find yourself sort of bouncing back and forth between attention and awareness, like you're sort of getting a taste of it, then you can do some practices to notice, to dissolve the attention. So you might focus on, for instance, the boundaries of attention, just noticing like how wide your attention is and where the boundary is, and then noticing that you're aware of the boundary and therefore you're aware of something beyond the boundary, and therefore your attention or your awareness is beyond the boundary. If you keep doing this sort of without too much effort, you have to sort of do this just gently, then eventually the boundaries will dissolve and you won't be in attention anymore. You'll just be in awareness. But like anything, all these steps require weeks or months of practice to master for most people. But you might get a taste of what they're aiming towards any single day. You could get it right now. You could wake up to all the truth that's in this practice right now. To master or stabilize it will almost certainly require practice. Okay, so that's all we have time for today. So we're going to finish the meditation. And today we've covered the whole path to awakening, at least one way you could go about it. And it really can be a step-by-step thing. And even though we're combining very indirect path kind of elements with direct path elements, they fit, they work together. Um, this is not that different from the way Dzogchen might teach. Um, so there are traditional paths out there that follow this kind of technique, but it's also just mixing and matching things to make it easy to go to the next step. You can do them all. You can do this sit we just did in sequence like this and see what happens if you do that for 10 days. But then you may want to go explore each step and just do mindfulness for a while, just do concentration for a while. If you find that you're getting stuck somewhere. Okay. Thank you for stopping by Zoom, YouTube. I'm not sure. Oh, here we go.